Well, truly, this has been a wonderful, delightful time for me here at Genesis. I heard about Genesis from our own sisters that come here possibly for retreats at times. And I was looking for a place for some quiet time, some time of reflection. And of course, the three R's I hear. I reverse them a little bit. It starts with, here, the magazine starts with reflect, relax, and renew. Well, I started by relaxing because I came quite tired and I was ready for a good rest. So I relaxed and I have gone through those three wonderfully. It's a delightful place to be. They answer to really your needs. Why I really chose it is because I've had a sabbatical before, but it was in a group sabbatical. And this, well, I couldn't follow the group because of things that had to be done before I came here. And so when I saw how the program was geared to the individual and not to a group, it really spoke to me, and it kind of answered to what I was looking for, what I needed. And so all of that has really been answered beautifully. People that are here are very, very attentive to those that are coming, because I guess most of us that come need rest and time for quiet. And that is given to you very generously. And there are wonderful programs that you can choose, and that was another thing. I could choose the programs that interested me, that I thought would help me in my spiritual life and in my growth, because we're always growing, we're always changing. And so that has been just wonderful. The two retired sisters that are working very hard. And of course, like in religious life, we always say, well, we don't really retire. We either change jobs or orientations. So I find that the work here is enormous, but they have a staff that is really so admirable, because I see that the staff has really espoused the mission of the Sisters of Providence. And I see that in all of the employees, be it the employees that are at the intellectual level where they're doing the programs and directing, or it's in the help, the kitchen, the grounds. I think everybody, for what I have witnessed, it's been a wonderful witnessing of the mission of the Sisters of Providence that has been transmitted to all of their employees. That is very edifying. The whole atmosphere, of course. This was winter for me now. Winter has been hard because I've been in the tropical country for many, many years. In fact, I've been in Haiti on mission for 43 years. So this is a winter. When I asked the Lord for snow, I didn't bargain for so much. To tell you the truth, I've seen more snow than I think I've ever seen in my life. So the winter was kind of difficult as far as enjoying the grounds, because I really couldn't go out that much, and that the cold was really hitting my bones, I think. But now that the spring is here, and I'm just enjoying the buds coming out. And so the whole atmosphere, even if I couldn't go out, there were so many resources indoors that I could benefit from, that, I couldn't be lonesome at all. There was always something very interesting going on, something profoundly helping you to go deeper into what you are all about. And I think I've become more in love with my loving God. It's been just wonderful.
Our sabbatical is unique. Each person designs their own time here at Genesis with a staff person. The persons who come to Genesis for sabbatical time are all in different places, and therefore they have different needs. Our program is geared to meet each person where they are at and assisting them in designing their time here to meet those needs, because everyone's needs are different. And because of that, we don't have a structured program. People come and they are accompanied by a good spiritual director or spiritual guide to meet their needs. Because many sabbatical programs, it's large and everybody has to do the same programs, and that is not what happens here. The individual time that's given to each person is very important here at Genesis. And even a person's arrival and departure time, which in most programs is the same for everybody who's doing the program. Well, here at Genesis, people arrive and depart when they need to, when they know it's time for them. And we will work with the person, and the person has everything that every other sabbatical has for their use and for their time while they're here. Hospitality is the hallmark of Genesis. The center lends itself to what most sabbaticals are seeking. Since it's a smaller group, there isn't a lot of needing to learn to relate to a whole group of people. But that has been very important to people who come here, and that's part of the hospitality for us. We can be present to individuals.
You know, you can never go forward in anything unless you have a sense of where you're coming from. And I found that out really very early in my time here, for almost 40 years ago. So Genesis history is very rich, and it begins with the people who owned this property, who were the Crane Paper Company back in the late 1800s. And Mrs. Crane evidently had a great love of trees, and so she planted many of the trees on this property are over 100 years old because she planted them. And some of them she planted to be a barrier so that the sound of the paper mill wouldn't come through, because there weren't homes by and near us at that point. And so they gave up the house and the beautiful property, turned it over, sold it actually after Mr. Crane died. And then, such as a province, we took it over in 1929. And so for a few years, it was where young sisters came to have their formative years as novices, we would speak of. So from that point on, you know, it's very holy ground because it's had a great history at so many levels. And so we had the novitiate here, if you will, for a few years while we were building our mother house in Holyoke. And then we began the ministry to unwed mothers, which we as a community had in Millbury, but the house had burned down. And so we were invited to start that ministry here in this diocese. So from 1932 until 1964, in the beautiful estate home, 26-room house that Mr. Crane had had, the ministry to unwed mothers was conducted. And so that laid the ground for Genesis, because healing took place, acceptance took place, compassion took place, understanding took place for those young women who were shunned at that time by society. And our sisters were really very, very fine, good to them, very good to them. So that's the history, that's the grounding of this place. So that when I started here in '76 and Sister Ruth came shortly after me, we already had a good foundation, because there was left behind from those ministries a wonderful energy, grace, and welcoming to people who maybe would be shunned. So we walked into something that was already for us. And we began in 1976 as Genesis Spiritual Life Center. And we welcome people from all walks of life, all faiths, no faith, all orientations, different beliefs. And we were designing our programs then so that they were an extension of our ministry of hope and healing, which is our community, Sisters of Providence Charism. And at that time, we expanded our ministry so that it would reach the whole person, body, spirit, mind. And at the same time, a few years later, realized that we could not do that without being deeply connected to earth. And so the earth and our land was of special concern for us, as it is to this day. Our mission statement stated that we believe that each person is a seed of God. And we hope and we support in the programs that we do, in our atmosphere, in our surroundings, that seed can grow into the likeness of God. So people realize that through their welcome, through our hospitality. Every place is known for hospitality, for welcoming. But I think Genesis has always had something extra special to offer. Genesis means beginnings, new beginnings. So people come away for a new start, whether it's just for a weekend to let something new bubble up in them, or whether for it's a longer time to let themselves be restored, regenerated, renewed. And there's always a Genesis constantly taking place. Genesis isn't just an old story in the Bible. It's alive right here at this moment as we're doing this. And so we have been faithful to that mission. We have been faithful to our own desire to see our place grow and expand. And mostly, I think, to be ahead of the times. So we've always had a vision to go where no one else would go. Our foundress, Mother Mary of Providence, was a remarkable woman. We're here over 140 years now in this area. And so she instilled in us, just by her courage, her tenacity, her professionalism, that you can accomplish almost anything if you walk with Providence. And she always said it, as actually St. Vincent de Paul was the one who said it, Providence unfolds one step at a time, but be very careful not to run ahead of Providence. But today, we realize the importance of moving forward and being on the edge to draw people into the more of themselves. People don't understand the potential that they have to do good, to grow, to touch other lives. And so a lot of that happens here at Genesis. And it goes back to our very founding days here, really, when our novices were here. And they were encouraged to grow into the fullness of who they were meant to be. So that thread has found its way. The care for the land is very important to me. We've been very careful ecologically. We've tried to be. You're not up to par on that. You can always do much, much better. But people have seen us because we were probably on the forefront of teaching eco-spirituality, that the spirituality of the earth is really an important element of our own understanding of where we come from and who we are. And so it's been a great joy to have been able to be here. I owe my community a great deal. Sisters of Providence have supported us year after year after year. And now, as many, many communities and many spiritual and many ministries are doing, is we are giving over, or not giving over, but collaborating with laity. And so we have someone like Suzanne Boniface, who's in our marketing department, and Liz Waltz, who's our new executive director, and Pat Fettinger, who's our layperson. But not to ever think for 1 minute that this place could run if we didn't have the real down-to-earth services that we have that are conducted by wonderful men and women who work in dietary, who work in housekeeping. Hospitality starts at the front door, and Tricia, it starts at the telephone usually for us, or emails. But Tricia is like, she's like the face of Genesis. And then each one of the people who work here, just let it pour out of them by the way they are, the way they respect people, the way they honor people. And they see God in them. And what more could one ask for? Amen.